Holy shit. That thing is bad. We need one of these. Sorry guys, I think I got you a little wet. Oh my god! Well, I'm not really sure why it won't start again. The last video, we finally figured out how to get the engine fan off. That was a big thing in that video, kind of going over a few things, kind of the plans, what the holdup was on this thing. So now today we're actually gonna start working on it. I got a whole bunch of stuff here for the day cab. Everything except this box. This box is not. I do got new oil filter, the new fuel filter. This is the water separator filter. Could not find a cat filter to transfer into this one, so we just went with the fleet guard. All new brakes, front and rear. Drums are all good on it, so we're not gonna do drums. I got a new front wheel seal, new rear wheel seal. This is for the door because it opens too far and it's broke. All new hood bushings and the front seal for the steering box. Sup, chump? Sup? And yeah, so we're gonna start working on a day cab finally, get some of this shit fixed on it so we can at least make it road legal to drive, because currently it is a driveway princess, which is never fun. No. We're gonna start by doing front brakes and front wheel seals. I have never done wheel seals before, so this is gonna be a little bit interesting. This one's shot, other side's good. So like I said, we're only doing brake shoes and 2 wheel seals because the brake drums are good. And we're gonna do a rear cutoff on this at some point when we get more into racing, because this style suspension is not really great for racing. It's gonna hop, doesn't have full lockers. We're eventually gonna switch to a new way, so I'm not gonna spend a bunch of money on doing brakes and all this shit on this when I'm gonna change it. So we're just gonna make this work. I do need brakes because they are fucking gone. But the front axle we're gonna keep. So the front, we could stick a little bit of money in, but the drums are actually pretty damn good shape. But the wheel seal is cooked. So we're gonna do shoes and wheel seals on the front. We're also gonna check to make sure the kingpins are good. So I was curious to see what the kingpins look like. This is the one on the passenger side with the bad wheel seal. To be honest, I think she's gonna need a kingpin. Holy shit. That thing is bad. I've never done a kingpin. I don't know if I can. I don't know if you need special tools. I'm gonna have to do some asking around on that one. We'll see if the driver's side needs it, but passenger side is definitely shot. We need one of these. They got all kinds of cool stuff here. They need a whole line up of cab overs. So this is actually a truck salvage yard that we're at. It's about an hour from us. There's a cool cab over. Door handles are so different back in the day. I don't know what this has for a motor in it. I can't tell. I'm not super, like, I guess, knowledgeable on my old trucks. They got an old, well, it's an A model, which I want one of these someday. And then they got, I don't know what model that technically is, but that's old school. I think that thing's probably from like the 60s, 50s, 60s. All kinds of cool stuff. But as you can see from the title, we came here for a steer axle. We bought a steer axle for the 379. The kingpins are toast. And then it also needs wheel bearings, wheel seals, so it needs kingpins. Like the whole front axle shot, and the kingpins alone, to have somebody do it for me, because I don't know how to do them, I don't have the tools to do them, are like $1,000 to $1,500 for everything, just for the kingpins. So I'd have almost probably $2,000 in the axle, because I also want to do wheel bearings, because when I pulled the cap off and checked the oil, it was like goo. So, and I'm assuming it must have got hot or something at one point. So it's like at that point you're doing everything, you might as well do the wheel bearings. So it's like, I'm gonna be $2,000 into it. Well, I bought a disc brake front axle for $1,000. So I'm gonna throw new pads on it because the pads are shot. Hopefully the calipers aren't seized. Otherwise, it should bolt right up. Kingpins are tight, $1,000, a lot cheaper. You know, we're also going to get $200 and some back just for taking the shoes and stuff back from the day cab. So I'll have some credit there. God, look how steep the pedals are. My shin would be on fire in about 5 minutes of driving. And I'm kind of curious to know what year this is. Somebody knows in the comments. Let me know, like, if they have any idea what year or what model. I don't really know. It's like an old needle nose camera. Oh, it even has the fold up. That's how it looks. They're cool. I like this old stuff. So we're back home. We're gonna get some stuff done today. Hopefully, as long as the rain holds out, because it's been sprinkling. So this is the axle. We're gonna be taking it here in a little bit to where Morgan works. Her co-worker is gonna sandblast this for me, or at least sandblast a little bit of it to try to knock off some of the rust, like this crusty shit. We want to try to get a lot of that off so that I can just kind of repaint the axle a little bit to make it look a little bit better when we go to put it in. Clean it up a little bit before we shove it in here. I'm not going to paint it orange because we plan on painting the whole truck here at some point, or the frame at some point. Not this year, maybe next year, we'll see. I'm not real concerned about it. It's an axle, you're not going to see it. I do have a to-do list of things here that need to mostly get done. Not everything needs to get done, but most things do need to get done on this, because we're trying to get this ready to go to the parish polls here in Marshfield in less than a month. It's about 1 month away. July 11th, I think it is, which is a Friday. We got a lot to do. It really needs to be roadworthy. There's obviously things that are more important than others. Morgan's too scared to record. Got the axle set up here. Xander's gonna sandblast it for us and get her looking right. So do a little before and after, show you how crusty this thing is. All right. Maybe Morgan will start recording from now on. Stop. I don't know. She's too scared. Of course, it rained on the way home, so it flash rusted. But Xander did an awesome job getting this all blasted. It looks so much better. It cleaned up really nice. So we're just gonna have to scuff it good and wipe it down with rubbing alcohol before we try to paint it. Okay, so I haven't been recording much of the brakes. This is the last wheel, the last brake. This one actually fought me. Literally, I've had every wheel off this truck. The last wheel, the last lug nut took forever to take off. Had to use the little torch thing. About 5 minutes of heating it before it finally came off. Did the wheel seal on that last night. First time ever doing a wheel seal. Hopefully I did it right. I don't know. I kind of winged it like I do everything else. So that's changed. Hopefully don't leak. New shoes are going on good. I also found out that spring is broke, so we're gonna try to hammer that back in. If you look, the bag's sitting kind of funky. I'm not super concerned about it because I'm gonna be changing this cutoff here in the next, hopefully next year, before we really do too much. It's not like it's not a working truck. The truck's not gonna get driven that much. It's not gonna haul anything heavy. So I'm not really worried about it because we're swapping it to a New Way or a Hendrickson for racing. So I'm gonna find my hammer. I'm gonna try to hammer that back forward, and then I'm gonna loosen the brakes and pull the drum off. I'm gonna hammer these brakes out because then we're going to Tanner's and we're putting this new axle on yet today. So busy day. Sorry guys, I think I got you a little wet. Before I throw the wheel back on, she's snugged up. I don't think it's going anywhere. Maybe I'll weld the sides at some point, but good enough for now. Let's wheel back on and get this shit back together. So we're on my way to Tanner's to do that front axle now. Get everything done. I definitely think we're gonna have to do something different with the suspension before we can do too much, because this fucker hops really bad. This is on a gravel road. Oh my god. We're gonna unload this axle and we're gonna try to get these dowel pins out. That is our biggest thing right now. If not, then we just gotta run the spacers, but if we screw up the dowel pins, then we gotta figure out something. They're pretty soft. I would think they wouldn't come out crazy hard, but I don't know. So we're removing dowel pins. We got one out. We had to build a custom homemade slide hammer. And it worked. Got that one out. So Tanner had these nuts laying around. They're pretty good size. They're fine thread, nothing he can really use them for. So what we did is we put them on. Nope, I just hit that crooked. So hit that flush. Tanner's gonna weld that solid in there. And then he's got some old nuts over here off of a Winnebago camper that he used for a project that he took the engine out of for his old truck. So we take the lug nuts and we put them on upside down and weld the lug nut to that nut. And then we took our homemade slide hammer, because this was from a skid steer he doesn't have anymore. And then we thread the new nut that we welded on top of that one onto this rod. And then we took our homemade slide hammer, giant counterweight of just a big thick piece with a square tubing and a little round thing. It's just scrap metal he had laying around. Built a big washer, put a nut on top, a couple hits and she was out. There again. Hopefully that side goes just as easy. Nut. Oh, here, I'm gonna clean that up. Oh. How much did you thread it in?
I had it under ways.
Oh.
I think it's there.
She's coming. Look at that. We're freaking geniuses. Yeah. So now dowel pins are out. Now I'm gonna go get my lovely fiance, and she's going to start kind of painting on some of this, and then we're gonna start setting up and ripping the axle out. So we're gonna set up on Tanner's concrete out here, start pulling it out. Luckily he's got 2 forklifts, or at least one for sure. Does that one still work? Yeah. 2 forklifts, and he has a mini excavator, so we'll be able to get her out a lot easier than trying to do this at my house. So we got the truck positioned. This is where we're gonna do it. Have room to get out of the garage. Right now we got Morgan. She is currently gonna throw a coat of paint on it. So like I said earlier in the video, we're just gonna paint the axle black, but then we're gonna paint this is gonna be orange. This will be the only thing you see. So we're gonna start taking this out. We did get, like I said, got the dowel pins out, so now we're gonna be able to lower the truck, hopefully. So I'm gonna measure, and we're gonna see exactly how much it ended up dropping. To the fender, center of the fender. My freaking hand is in the way. It's about 47 inches, maybe actually just a hair more, depending where you measure on at. Right in the center here. About 47. Oh, this is hard to hold. There we go. So the bottom of the bumper is about 12 3/4. Maybe closer to 12 1/2. So we'll say 12 3/4. It's pretty close. 12 1/2. So 12 1/2 for the bumper. That's what we're gonna measure from. We're gonna see how much it drops, because the blocks that are in here, they're pretty big. So it should drop it quite a bit. We're pulling off U-bolts now. We ended up using 2 floor jacks. I'm pretty sure they're both 3 tons. Side by side to pull each wheel off because our jack stands don't go insanely tall. They're just normal 12 tons. Lowered the axle, we took the wheels off, lowered the axle, and then now we just supported it with the jacks, taking the U-bolts off. We gotta probably pull the shocks off just to make it a little easier, and then we gotta pull this drag link off, and then disconnect the hoses and the ABS, and she should be ready to slide out. Should be pretty freaking easy, actually. Morgan has got this thing pretty well painted out, looks freaking sick. I think that orange is pretty close. She painted them yellow first. And then, I don't know, I think that's pretty close. Looking freaking good. We gotta pull that drag link off too, because we're gonna use the one obviously that's on here. So while Tanner's doing that, I'm gonna start pulling these airlines off and stuff. God, he's making a lot of noise. The axle's dropped. Took us about 10 minutes or so to do the axle and about freaking 20 to figure out how to unplug the damn ABS, because the guys had it zip tied in the back where you couldn't see it, and everything is so covered in freaking oil. But now we're gonna take the forklift and we're gonna drag it out. We're gonna probably lay it down and hopefully it'll clear everything. We pulled the bumper off. We couldn't get the axle out either way, one way or the other. So pull the bumper out, we'll pull it straight out, which will make putting the new one in easier, because we should be able to just kind of balance it on the tip of the forks, maybe just set it right where we need to, lift up, throw the U-bolts on. This might work out in our favor. Jeez, rookie.
Left my e-brake.
I'll grab the other side, slide it back a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's done.
I think the steering arm's gonna catch it, but it'll be alright. Keep coming. All right, guys, it's been 1 week. We are back at Tanner's. Sunday, it got a little bit too late, and we needed U-bolts and shims. So this week I was able to go get some. It's pretty much right where we left off. I did not actually show the finished product of Morgan doing the axle. I forgot, but turned out pretty good. The only downside is our hub. The orange doesn't quite match, so we might just paint it black. Right, Morgan? Yeah. So that's the only downside. We kind of guessed the cardboard it looked good and matched pretty good, but apparently not once it's on the hub. So we got 4 new U-bolts. I got all new nuts and then washers. I went 1 inch shorter, but the threads are quite a bit longer on the new ones. So let me see if I can show you here. You can see they're about 1 inch shorter, but the threads come up a lot farther. We are getting rid of the blocks. So these are the ones that came on this axle. The ones that were actually on the truck were about 1 inch bigger. So hopefully we went short enough, but not also too short. We just kind of guessed. I didn't really know. And then, because these are tapered for your caster, this says 030. I'm assuming that means 3 degrees. So I went with 3 degree shims because we're going to remove those completely. So hopefully this all works. And then I got some stuff. We're going to put new connectors on the ABS because the ABS plugs fell apart. You guys are matching.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
But the ABS plugs kind of fell apart.
This is the first thing, Kevin.
So we're gonna we're gonna put a different style plug on there, put new plugs on. But while I wait for Tanner to get done with work here, I'm going to try to get the the axle in place and hopefully kind of bolt it up. I'm just gonna roll it where it needs to be and then lift it with 2 jacks. So, gonna start with that. And yeah, if that goes good, I think that's gonna be one of the harder parts. Once that goes on, hopefully the rest of it just kind of goes together. Yeah, I don't know if my 3-ton jack is necessarily loving this, but we pretty much got everything buttoned up. It took us a little bit to get the U-bolts on. I didn't really record any of it because me and Tanner were doing it by ourselves. We had to have the girls go and get us a socket for the U-bolts. We needed a longer socket because if you look, we're going to get into this a little bit. There's a lot of U-bolt left over. Yeah, I told the lady I need it 2 inch shorter. She's like, okay, I'll be a couple minutes. Goes in the back. How long? We were like there 20, 30 minutes. It was freaking forever. She finally comes back out. I only made them 1 inch shorter, just so they wouldn't be too short. I'm like, I said 2 inches shorter, but okay. So now they're just a hair long, but luckily we barely had enough threads. Yeah, I don't know why she just didn't do them 2 inch shorter like I asked, but I'm gonna guess she tried to do it and then ended up with 1 inch shorter and just like, oh shoot, I'm gonna just play it off kind of thing. But they worked. I guess the one bright side is if we ever decided to put so I took the block out that was on here. It was like a 3 inch or something like that, pretty close to it. The one that came with this axle was like 1.5 inches or so. It was about half the size. So if we ever want to put that smaller, because I don't have the big ones anymore. I gave them to Dylan when I sold him the axle. But if we want to put the smaller one back in for some reason, if it gets too close to the hood or whatever, we can. These U-bolts will be long enough, or should be. So that I guess is one benefit. But otherwise, we took them completely out. Like you said, I don't know. I can't remember what the shim was that was on the axle that was on the truck. But the one that came with the axle was I think a 3 degree. It said 030, so I went 3 degrees. That's the shim we put in. So hopefully that works. But otherwise, everything's going together pretty good. We got the airline, the hoses hooked up. Put Teflon tape on these. Hook them back up. The ABS wires we're cutting because the plug is so... This side actually isn't the worst, but the other side literally fell apart. Like, it's so brittle. So Tanner is cutting the ABS wires and putting new plugs on. Hopefully they're right. That one broke right off, so we don't really know if it matters on which wire goes to what wire. I'm assuming it probably does. We have a 50-50 chance. So hopefully this side we can kind of get. The only thing is I smushed this one at one point by the looks of it. Hopefully the wire's not damaged. If you look at it, it's pretty mangled. I'm gonna assume that I squished it with the forklift or something, or when I dropped it on the trailer. So when Tanner cuts the end off, we'll slide a piece of heat shrink down and just heat shrink over that. But yeah, otherwise that's really all we got left. I bolted the other wheel on already. I'm gonna bolt this wheel on quick, and Tanner's gonna button up the ABS wires quick. And then we're gonna start it and test it. And then we're gonna see if we can get the brakes to break loose. That's gonna be a little interesting, because we have yet to get these to spin, but we also haven't taken them apart. So gotta love it. She's officially setting back down on the ground. Tanner is finishing up the ABS over here. Probably shouldn't let the colorblind guy do this, but it's all right. Tanner had these nice plugs, so we're putting these new plugs on. They're a waterproof plug.
Yeah, I think they're like a Dutch
something.
Dutch connector or something.
Off of Amazon. Like I said, the ones on it were literally falling apart. And then we got all this heat shrink that we're putting on. From what I have found, the heat shrink and then using these
non-insulated
connectors is the best way to go. And then you get the heat shrink with glue in them. So far, all the wiring that I've ever fixed and I used this style, I have not had any problems. Well, we were gonna start it, but the battery's dead. I think I left the key on in accessory mode. What? Oh, game. I think I left the key on accessory mode. Usually I take the key out at my house, but here I left it in because, well, it was on jack stands. There was no way you're driving. There's no axle underneath of it, so there's no way you're gonna drive it. So I think I left the key on. Huh? That's rude. Alright, we got the truck fired up. Just got built over there. The only thing we got left is throw the bumper on and we're gonna see if the brakes release. See if the brakes will release. We know it turns, everything feels good there, so I don't know, that's the only thing we're a little worried about. I haven't got them to spin by hand. Tomorrow we're fixing this friggin' door strap. They just shattered the mirror even more. Now I scratched the door, damn it. Yeah, it's been broke since we bought it. It was already smashed. It was already smashed. But I keep frickin' forgetting about it. I swing the door open and then it just slams into the frickin' mirror. They do drag a little bit yet, but I think they're just gonna have to be used. When I pull the pads out, I might see if I can slide the hammers in, maybe see if I can get some specialized grease for it. I'm gonna do some research on them tonight. But I think it's pretty handy. We need one of those. But yeah, no, I think they're gonna work good. It doesn't have no ABS light on or nothing yet, so we're gonna throw the bumper on quick, and then I'm gonna dump a little bit of power steering in because it does leak. So we're gonna make a journey home, and hopefully we don't have no brake fire. Looks so much more badass too. So much less fender gap. This is how it should look. I love that. It doesn't sit. I mean, we cut a lot out of it. We'll put the bumper on and measure and see, but we cut quite a bit off of it already. Looks so much better. It's the next day. The drive home last night went pretty good. It is a little sketch. It has a lot of play in the front end. I don't know where it's coming from yet. We're gonna mess with it here in a little bit and try to figure it out. But we're gonna see how much it actually lowered it. So originally when we measured, the front bumper was 12.5 inches from the bottom of the bumper to the ground. So now we're sitting at, it looks like about 10.5, give or take some. So it dropped about 2 inches in the front. I will say it looks significantly closer to the fender. Like this looks more proportionate. It sat super high on the fender before. It looked really goofy in my opinion. This was 47 inches. So at the fender, we dropped, about 1.75 inches or so, maybe close to 2 inches on that as well. We took the block, I can't remember how big that block was, but we put a wedge in so that it didn't drop the full size of the block. But it looks so much better. So we just got the truck all greased. The axle took like little to no grease. Like that, it was super easy. You can definitely tell it was taken care of and greased a decent amount. The truck, on the other hand, took an excessive amount. Like, oh my God. I will say the drive line feels pretty tight. Out of everything, I'm kind of glad that at least is tight. But yeah, the front end is pretty clapped. I think a lot of my play, though, it's probably in that steering box, because that moves an excessive amount. We're gonna start it and see, just check, make sure everything else is tight. But I'm thinking a lot of that's in the steering box, unfortunately. We still gotta detail the inside of this thing yet. What the hell? Well, I'm not really sure why it won't start again. It says I have battery voltage. What the fuck? Why did that just kick out? What the heck? I don't know why it kicked out. I used a bigger extension cord and it kicked back on. It said it was at 12.2 volts this time. It should turn over, at least try to at that. It's not even trying. Figured out the issue. So I thought it was the batteries. Charger on obviously did not make a difference. Thought maybe it was a relay. Jumped the wire, didn't make a difference. So I'm like, well, I tried beating on the starter on the bottom side with the hammer and it didn't make a difference. So I'm like, well, what the heck? So then I took a crowbar and I beat on that one. I think that's just a solenoid right there. You can see the marks on it. I beat the hell out of it with that. And now she turns over. So yeah, I think the starter solenoid's getting stuck. So hopefully now, with just beating on it a little bit, it'll maybe free it up, because we had the problem last night, but by putting the charger on it, it fired right up. So hopefully by just beating on it a little bit, maybe it freed up whatever was stuck and we'll have some luck for a while. I'm not going to change it till it absolutely needs it, but yeah, now we know. Look at that. So now that's built up with air. I did turn everything and I can't see. All this stuff seems pretty tight. Other than the steering box does seem to have kind of, I don't know, ain't too bad. Everything seems pretty tight, so I'm going to take it for a test drive now that I greased everything, see how it drives. I do think a lot of it actually though is in the steering box. I think there is a small part of it in the springs as well. I think maybe between the two, between the springs and the steering box, it just kind of amplifies it a lot, but I don't know. We'll take it for a test drive now and see how it is. I'm going to try to shift and do this at the same time. It is a little hard because it still does kind of wander. It's better because it moves a little bit more freely after being greased, but it definitely, I don't know. I think it's a lot of it in the steering box. I think I need to rebuild the springs first of all. I might look into getting a rebuilt steering box since it leaks really bad anyway. I could take back the $200 seal kit, put that towards the steering box, and probably fix some of my problems. But I do gotta re-straighten the steering wheel too, because the drag link's shorter for this axle. It's not too bad now. It's actually going pretty straight this direction. For right now anyway. Sorry, you guys can't see. Oh my God, it's so bumpy. I think I gotta tell you if it's on a round or something on a drive. kind of wanders. It pulls that way, and then now it kind of wanders this way. I don't know. Seems like I got to put a lot of input in the steering wheel to get it to really do too much. But I don't know. I'm just used to my 389. That's a lot tighter, obviously, but I don't know. I think we're going to rebuild the springs here one of these days. I'm not going to worry about that too much before pulling. But I need to, it is something that I need to address before racing. Yeah, this thing, we got a laundry list of stuff to do. Definitely a long ways to go. I do miss the cat Jake rig. So I took the truck for a test drive. It still wanders. Not as bad, but it definitely is still there. I think a lot of it is in the steering box, and also some of it may be in the springs. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna do some research. I've heard you can tighten the steering box, but I'm not exactly sure how yet. I might take back the seal kit that I got and just buy a rebuilt steering box, because I think they're like $600. I might call Elderon on Monday, which is where I bought the axle from, and see if they have a steering box that's rebuilt and see what they cost. Kind of go from there, because I do need to pull it apart, and it has to be pulled apart to be resealed, because that one grease cert, it's internal somehow how it hooks in, and it leaks, and I can't figure out. I'm not sure how to take them apart, so I'd have to mess with that. It's not really a high priority right now. We're just trying to get it ready for pulling on July 11th. That is my main goal right now. So I got other things to worry about first. We got to get drive tires for this thing yet. I got to take the truck up to Leroy. We got to run an overhead on it. We got to run an injector test on it, make sure the injectors are firing correctly. I do feel like I may have a misfire a little bit, but I can't tell. It's been so long since I've actually had a cat that, you know, sometimes some of these trucks, they run a little bit differently. So I want to make sure that's in tip top, get an overhead done on it, and then he's going to tune it. And we're at least going to get that stuff done here soon. And then I have some other things on the list I got to get done. But the tires and the tuning is a big thing. The alternator wire was a big thing because it got bare wires showing. I have a back window I'm going to put in it too. Because no back window really sucks. And then I got to figure out how I'm going to make this not hop. So I'm going to do a lot of that stuff in different videos here. We have a lot in this video. It's already a really, really long video. So this is where we're going to end this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We have, like I said, a laundry list of things to get done. So there are going to be multiple videos on this over the next couple of weeks. If you want to see more, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Like I said, July 11th, that Friday night, we're going to be pulling. If you're local to Marshfield, Wisconsin, come watch us try to pull it. I got a call tomorrow and make sure they're going to have a hitch. That is kind of my biggest thing right now, to make sure that they're going to have a hitch, because otherwise I'm going to have to try to find someone to build me one. But I believe the guy that owns ELM brings hitches that people swap out. And then in a couple weeks after, ELM in Edgar, Wisconsin, has their pull that I know for sure they're going to have hitches that we're also going to take this. So I don't know how crazy well it's going to do for the fact that I don't have full lockers, but we're going to give it a shot. Leroy's going to throw a max effort tune on it. We're leaving the stock turbos and everything on it for right now, and we're going to just send it. So stay tuned for it. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.